it almost is that, yeah, this is what I'm gonna go do. So weird. So I've been open, struggled with sobriety for many, many years, and
Mhm.
finally, November 26, 2014, I get sober. And then
Amazing.
January 2015, have this dream, literal, like I don't have dreams often. I don't remember them if I do, but I woke up, it's like 2 in the morning. Native little girls were covered in lip gloss. They had the rosiest little cheeks and they were laughing and it was their joy. I pop out of bed and I'm like, it was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out how to make a lip gloss. And then the initial plan was like, how do I start a foundation in my grandmother's name or create a scholarship? So could I make this lip gloss and then use a portion of those profits to like do something to support my community? And it's like super basic. Then I spent 2015 and 2016 just like researching the industry because I was coming from my career in the food industry. So I was in sales and marketing for a seafood
Mhm.
company. And prior to that, I worked at Cisco, which is a broadline distribution company
Right,
in the
right.
food space. And then before that, I was in the hospitality industry. So I knew nothing but food. So then learning about beauty, and I'm like, how do you get a lip gloss made? And start doing Google like everyone else, and then learned, oh my goodness, this is all about white label, private label, like the food space. So at Cisco, we used to private label, and at the seafood company, we would private label brands and just make up brands in order to try to market them and sell them better, right? And so
Right.
discovered that there's tons of manufacturers out there in the food space that do that. Turns out the beauty space was like super similar. And I think the time that we were living in it, you realize that, oh my goodness, like people can order a product from halfway around the world, slap your logo on it, and call it a brand and sell it in North America, which was crazy mind blowing to me once I figured that part out. Because I'm like, because you see people starting brands and you're like, how did you do that? And then
Yeah.
realizing like they're buying stuff off like Alibaba. And I'm like, then you go, and I'm like, then I'm in there diving into the Alibaba people, like, and no one knows anything about ingredients because that was the first
Oh
question
yeah.
I started asking. Didn't have any money, not like a traditional person who would
Mhm.
build a business plan and then go seek investment. So I was like, the online world, let's try that and see if I can build an e-commerce store because Shopify was there and there was many more, and see if I can figure out how to build that. And then if I can get a product that is made in Canada, I would at least feel good about that. So I found private labelers from the in Canada in the GTA, and they were great to work with and the product was good. However, when I started learning more about the industry and started asking more questions and no one is telling you anything, and
Mhm.
then literally realizing that they're probably ordering this stuff from overseas, having
Mhm.
bulks of it shipped here because that's allowed. Like, are we aware that bulk is allowed to be shipped from a different country and poured here and then said made in
Oh,
Canada?
oh,
Yeah, that
yeah,
happened.
no.
So then I started learning that nobody's telling me anything for sure. Like,
Right.
so I'm like just being clear that there's a lot of assumptions because they won't tell you even where certain raw ingredients and those sort of things were coming from. And then, so I was like, why is there so much secrets and nobody's transparent? And then is it possible? Can I create a brand that I want to be really, really proud of and stand behind? And so in 2018, I met with the Sephora Canada team because of their accelerator program
Right. Fantastic.
and didn't get picked for it, was so brokenhearted. Met with them and then was like, okay, I need to figure out really how to make something. Like, do I need to like hire a chemist? Yes. So started working with a contract chemist. We were bouncing formulations back and forth. She would be making them, testing them out, and then started to really get serious once I figured out, okay, like I think I'm on to something here. I can
Yeah.
seek some investment. And that was then the next part of the journey where I was like, we're going to move away from all of the white label, private label. I want to be able to tell my customers exactly where things are coming from. And
Mhm.
that started to be really clear when the majority of the messages I received, people want to know what they're putting on their skin. They just want to
100%.
know. It was just so frustrating not to get answers from the current partners and suppliers we were working with. And so we ended those relationships and just started to do a full on, like, let's do a rebrand. Finally, now this January, we're fully have reformulated. 100% vegan is our mission, 100% like as clean as we possibly can get it, and sustainable, which also not only means the packaging choices that we choose to make at the time in history where we are on this journey,
Mhm.
to the biodegradability of the ingredients that we're sourcing and using as well. So that, when I was realizing that there are some raw ingredients that don't biodegrade as quickly as others, and just being really truthful with our community about why and how and what we're using, and whether something is made in a lab and why we chose that, because it could be the more sustainable choice versus taking something from nature. As mentioned, I was like the world didn't need another beauty brand. Once I got here, I was like, okay, we need to, what is really gonna be our differentiating factor? And it came from that initial concept, that initial literal dream of like giving back. Gratefully, we've been able to donate over 150,000 over that now to several different organizations that support Indigenous youth and specifically focused on their education. And at the same time, really do things like being able to plant trees over the last couple of years, and providing solar power and clean water to a family on a reservation. So really just being thoughtful about when and we can make the opportunities to do something about giving back. It just really does feel good. It was like, okay, if I'm doing this, we're going to do this, and the giving back portion is never going to go away. And there's so many teachings that come from my Indigenous culture that I've learned along the way. And one is like the idea of success for us in our communities is never what people are attaining for themselves, right? Like that's such a Western view. It's like, look at all the billions I've amassed and I'm on this Forbes list. With an Indigenous worldview, it's about what you've given back to your community that defines your success. And so really paying attention to those things that I didn't for most of my life, and now I'm really appreciating my culture and my community, and bringing in that whole concept of 7-generation teachings. When we think about what we make today, how will this impact the next 7 generations? And that's how historically Indigenous people have thought about what they're doing with anything to do with our planet. So they're like realize that concept for thousands of years, and have been trying to echo it, but not enough people were listening. And then, just from my Anishinaabe roots specifically, which are my people that really lived around the Great Lakes region for thousands of years, we have what they call the 7 grandfather teachings. And those are just like literally, extending respect and love and all those things, those character traits I think that we all love in each other as fellow humans. And so I thought it was just such a beautiful way to honor my grandmother, who was a residential school survivor, and really learn to love myself, because it took me a long time to learn to love who I am and where I came from. Unfortunately, we live in a world where I felt a lot of shame about who I was and my history and all those things, but that no longer exists. And I'm really proud of the work that we get to do. And the giving back portion is hands down, the thing that I wake up and feel the most good about every single day. The most recent, we gave a $2,500 scholarship to an Indigenous youth who is, she's working on her law degree at the moment. And so we had a whole bunch of people apply. Our team got to go through all the applications and vote, and it was really challenging just to pick one person. And that's why I was like, this needs to keep growing and going so we can give out more. And then, with the First Nation Child and Family Caring Society, this is one organization that I found really early on. We specifically said we want our donation funds to go to a cause that have on their platform called Shannon's Dream. And Shannon's Dream is it's just such a special story that's really inspiring about a young Indigenous girl who went to school on reservation, took a class trip and saw the difference between her school and the school that she visited in Ottawa. And it was like the schools on reservations, unfortunately, are really dilapidated in some respects. Not all. I've been told that's not the case, but I know where my nieces and nephews go to school on our First Nation. They've told me what the school is like.
Right.
There's not as many like computers and like extracurricular activities. And so her dream was just to have a school where kids felt safe and comfortable. And unfortunately, she was going to school in a cubicle on the reservation. So they're on Attawapiskat, which is a fly-in community on the
Right.
James Bay region. And they were in a portable for like most of her school life because the original school, there was a gas leak and no one ever fixed it. But the good news
Oh
is
God.
today there's a school on that reservation, but it took her starting this mission and sort of movement to make that happen. But and then sadly she passed away in a car accident at like the age of 15, so she never got to, see that come to fruition. But her family is a big supporter of her dream, and it's called Shannon's Dream, and so that's where those cash dollars go. And then we give like product and in-kind donations to all kinds of youth organizations, women's Indigenous women's groups across North America. Um, and the reason, we've been called out just like about our products and the price point and how do you ever expect like Indigenous, and I know it's my own people saying that, how do you expect us to afford this product? I never wanted to bring a cheap product to market. That's not what we were about. And then now you can imagine that has me thinking like, how is this even fair? Like, I mean, the world we live in is not fair, but it's just truly who can afford the better products, kind of like that's where my head went over these last few years. And how can we make sure that we're providing products for our communities? Well, the one way we do that now is it's like literally our Sustain promise is for every Sustain lipstick bullet that's purchased, we make sure that one is going back to an Indigenous person in one of our communities across North America. Sustainability is really expensive. It's like fighting an uphill battle when we're having
Yeah.
this sustainability conversations. If we keep buying the cheap junk, then they're going to keep making it. It's a hard thing to learn, and I even had to reframe it in my own mind when I'm purchasing items, in the sense that I want to buy something that I know is going to last and do the best job that it possibly can, is the safest for me and my family and the planet. And those are more expensive decisions. We've changed the way we even buy groceries over the last few years. The more I learn about, about sustainability, it is expensive, but we're not going to see change if we don't all make those changes. I mean, I do have a routine. I work out first thing in the morning. I try to get outside in nature in that morning time, whether it's my walk. I usually try to walk to work. So to get my 10,000 steps in, and then I gratefully only live, like it's a 30-minute walk, a 5-minute drive from the office. And then I'll walk home at lunch and then eat quickly and then come back. And then at least I know I've done all of my sort of fitness things I have to get done pre 1 o'clock. So it's all done. That's if I'm not, the last 2 years, there's been no traveling. So it's been awesome that you can kind of keep a routine if you
Yeah.
wanted to. Prior to that, it was awful, but I realized that's not good because I really did put on a lot of weight. This year, the end of last year, I started to realize I'm like, no, I need to be in optimal health for me, for my
Yes.
family, for the company. I'm not going to succumb to a bag of chocolate covered almonds every night anymore. Right? That's literally what it was. I was like, okay, now sugar is your addiction. So I just had to remove sugar. That's like my
Yeah.
vice. Move around more. And I feel so much better. I was in the Credo for Change Accelerator program and met Michelle Kim, and she invented a dry shampoo, but it's mostly about the applicator because you're only touching your hair because of the application with the dry shampoo product. And it's not going on the scalp, and dry shampoos going on the scalp was the problem. Like we all would get
Right.
itchy. I get itchy head from
Me
it,
too.
and it's not good for your scalp. So she has it, so it's actually going where the oils are. And I haven't washed my hair in like, well now, yeah, you can tell it looks really bad today, but
No, it
in
does not.
since last Thursday I washed my hair. I'm not kidding. I let it go a week. So tomorrow's Friday. I usually wash it every Friday morning, once
Okay,
a
that's
week. And I've been
incredible.
using, so it's an incredible product. Shell, so M the apostrophe CHEL hair care, and she's from San Francisco.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, and obviously I'm a huge Sarah Blakely fan.
Yes.
Like, just adore her and the brand that she built. Like, I love the products and I love the brand and her. Me specifically, so many of our communities struggle. Like, suicide happens to be one of the leading causes of death for Indigenous youth in the North, specifically. And these kids, I just want them to see themselves in something. And if it's me as a founder, if it's the brand itself, if it's relating to one of the models that we choose or work with, because that hasn't happened in history before,
Yeah.
ever, on a grand scale. And driving down the Gardner Expressway, I've never seen an Indigenous brand make it to the Gardner Expressway on a billboard ever, or on
Me
a
either.
TV commercial that is an actually Indigenous owned brand. Not something government, right? Not the
Yeah.
government
Yeah.
popping up an Indigenous face, but it's an actual brand owned by an Indigenous woman, and that got to that place. And so, for the most important thing to me at the end of the day is all Indigenous kids feel like they have the possibility and the potential to create whatever they want.